Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. It is a pleasure to have this gentleman back on the show with me tonight. This is the 35th anniversary of the real murder on Music Row. And the gentleman that's with me tonight was a big part of that. He's written a book about it. We're going to talk about that tonight. And we're going to play some of his great music for you and find out what's going on with his career. It is a pleasure to welcome Sammy Sadler to My Kind of Country. Sammy, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing good, Scott. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me back on with you.
Well, it is always an honor to have you. We've had some great conversations, and I did not want this landmark time to go by and not talk to you on the show tonight.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's always good to talk with you.
Well, you bet. It's an honor. SammySadler.com is Sammy's website, and he has written a book. It's called A Hit with a Bullet. It is the story of the real murder on Music Row, and I'm going to have Sammy take us through what happened 35 years ago tonight. Sammy, tell us a little bit about what happened on this fateful day.
Well, Scott, thank you, man, for, like I said, having me on. Yeah, today marks the 35th anniversary of the real murder on Music Row. You know, a lot of people may not remember the murder on Music Row, and some people may not even have heard of it. But a lot of people have heard the song "Murder on Music Row" that George Strait and Alan Jackson recorded, which, you know, Larry Cordell and Larry Shell wrote that song, but they'll never admit that they got the idea to write that song from what really happened to me and Kevin Hughes on March the 9th, 1989, when Kevin and I were together. Kevin was the chart manager for Cashbox magazine back then, as you know, and Cashbox was a rivalry to Billboard back then, and he was a chart manager where the top 100 records move on the charts from 100 to number one, and him and I were together one night, and Kevin ended up getting shot and murdered. I got shot and left for dead, and it's known around the world as the murder on Music Row.
My gosh, that's an incredible story. What exactly was the motive behind this shooting, Sammy?
Well, you know, Scott, for 13 and a half years is how long we had to live trying to figure out what all this was about, what it was about. And even during that time period of having to go through that, the police, you know, made me feel like a suspect and treated me like a suspect basically all the way up until the end of this. And, you know, but God knows the truth, and he knows the answer, and he made the way. And after 13 and a half years, it all ended up being about some record promoters there in Nashville were trying to get Kevin to take money underneath the table to move the records that they were promoting up the charts. And Kevin was an honest guy, and he wouldn't take it and didn't want to put up and be involved in anything like that. And they shot and killed him over it, and that's what it's all about.
Oh my gosh! And you were shot also. Now, why were you a suspect in this if you were shot?
Well, you know, I've asked myself that same question the whole time that this has gone on. I mean, how the police treated me and how they questioned me. I had to take a lie detector test. I had to go to Vanderbilt. I had to get hypnotized with them sitting right there in the same room with me whenever all this happened. And when we got through, they asked the professor or whatever they call those guys, man, was he really hypnotized? And he said, well, absolutely he was. And the only thing that I ever told him any different than I told him from day one is the guy had on a heavier jacket. And that's the only difference in my story and my testimony that I've told them of what I told them that night. And for them to treat me the way they treated me and to think that I would have something to do in something like that is just it's just ridiculous. I mean, you know, you're not going to get yourself shot and nearly killed in the same process. I mean, what did I gain out of it? I certainly didn't get any money. I certainly didn't gain a career out of it. So for them to do that to me and the way they treated me, I just feel like is something that is very wrong.
It sounds to me like they were trying to kill your career is what it sounds like to me, buddy.
Well, I mean, you know, that's obviously what happened. You know, the way that they treated me and what it did. You know, this is one of the biggest black eyes in country music history, and it rocked the country music world because of it being about payola and records being, how they do things in the business. And, Kevin or myself, we didn't create this business. We came to this town just like anybody else to have a career because we love music and we love country music. And, for them to do that, I feel like it put a cloud over me and put a cloud over my career for nobody, to want to have anything to do with me because of the content and the nature of it.
Now, you mentioned it took 13 and a half years. What were the circumstances that led up to finding out exactly what happened, and was the person that did the shooting caught?
Well, yeah, the person was finally caught that did the shooting. Like I said, it took 13 and a half years. We went many, many years without hearing nothing from any of it. And one day I get a phone call, and, the police told me from day one, Sammy, when we catch the person that did this to you, we're going to call Kevin Hughes' family will be the first phone call, and you'll be the second. And that was a lie, Scott. I never got that phone call. I got a phone call one day. My phone rang, and I answered the phone. They said, congratulations. And I said, what do you mean congratulations for what? And they said, you haven't heard? I said, heard what? They said, they caught the guy who shot you. And I said, no, I haven't heard anything. And that was Dolly Parton's hairdresser, Cheryl Riddle, which Cheryl's a personal friend of mine and has been for many, many years. I met her when I was 18 years old, and I first moved to Nashville. And she used to cut my hair, and Vince Gills and everybody else. And she's been Dolly Parton's personal hairdresser now for over 30-something years. And she's the one who called me and told me that they had caught the guy.
Wow, that's quite a story for sure. And, I know that things were really happening for you back in 1989. You had a new album out, and your career was really going, and obviously this just set you back. And you were really hurt during this thing too. You took a bullet, and you've still got the bullet in your shoulder, I believe, right?
Yeah, I didn't know how bad I was hurt that night, obviously, but they ended up having to operate on me about 16, 18 hours that night, and I've got the bullet still lodged in my shoulder. They didn't want to take it out to tear up my muscles and everything. Then I had to have a second operation about 6 months later to do a nerve graft on a nerve that was severed in my arm. So that all happened that night. They said it took 7 seconds for that to happen to us, and that 7 seconds took me about 2 years to get back up on my feet and get back out on the road again.
Man, and I know moving forward too that you had another album out with, I believe it was Audium Records, and they went out of business. So again, I mean, you were set back again by these horrible circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's my career has definitely been a roller coaster, and the industry hasn't been kind to me. I can say that, Scott. I mean, I've had 3 different record deals since then, and every time we've gotten the deal, we had a deal with Koch, and Koch got bought out by E1 Entertainment. Then E1 Entertainment went out of business and sold for $81 million, and they just, left everything, our music, just sitting on the table, and it's kind of been left unheard. And, we're just, it's just been a crazy ride for me for some reason, but I'm still here. We're still going to be putting out music. I'm still touring, and, but I just thank God that I'm still here and able to do what I love to do and continue to pursue a career that I started so long ago, man.
Absolutely, and I know you've got a lot of supporters out there, including all of us here at My Kind of Country. We've always supported your music. We had you on the show a while back. You released an album called 1989, which we did a whole feature on, and I'm going to play some of that tonight for our listeners. And looking forward, 35 years later, what is your takeaway from all this? What has it taught you, and how has it changed your life?
Well, obviously that night changed my life forever. My life will never be the same. Kevin Hughes' family will never be the same. It's 2 people were involved, but it affected many, and many family members and friends, and I'm thankful to still be making music. It just, in a lot of ways, back then I was young and dumb and naive, and and now I know how the business works. I know what it's about, And it's a shame that, the business is about money and politics. It's not about talent. And there's so many talented artists, so many talented singers and songwriters out here across this land that will never get the opportunity to be heard because they don't play the politics and money game.
Yeah. And that's been going on for a long time. Do you feel, though, that as an independent artist today, that you have more avenues to get your music heard, and is it a little bit easier to get your music out there than it was back in those days?
Well, obviously it is, Scott. I mean, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have all of the outlets that we have today back in those days. So it's definitely you don't have to. I don't think you have to be signed to a major label to have success. And success is determined in a lot of different ways. If you're able to go out and do what you do and do everything that you do to make a living, then you're a success in my eyes. If you're able to go out and do what you want to do and you love doing what you're doing and you make a living at it, then to me you're successful. And it's definitely a lot easier to get your music out to different people and the masses than it was back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s for sure.
Sure, absolutely. There is so much great music coming out, and I'm so glad that we're able to play it and get it all over the world. It always amazes me when I'm sitting here doing this show in Michigan.
Yeah.
I've got somebody in Australia that's listening, or somebody in Scotland, and it's an amazing thing.
At the push of a button, man, you're all over the world. I mean, like you said, we didn't have that back in the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I know you've been doing a lot of performing, and I know you're working on some new material. You were doing some stuff with Leon Everett. I noticed you had a lot of videos on Facebook. And tell me a little bit about what you've got planned for this year.
Well, we've had a little setback. We were coming out of the gate. My dad has had some health problems, and so we've had to put some things on hold for 2024 right now. But my dad got in some bad health, and I've just now got him situated. So we're fixing to start going back and trying to gear up to come out and do a new show with me and Leon Everett. And we're working on some new music. I just cut a new gospel song. Me and Leon just cut a duet. And I've got a new album in the can already that I've had for just a little bit. So we've got new music coming, and we're going to start trying to work back on trying to put the show together with me and Leon and try to get back out here sometime in 2024.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I hope that when you're ready to go with all that, get a hold of me, because we'd love to get it on the air for you here.
Absolutely, man. I'll be glad to call you, man, and I appreciate you and your friendship and all the support that you've gave me over the years. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate you.
Well, we all love you, man, and I was so glad that Roxanne Atwood called me the other day and was telling me about the 35th anniversary of the shooting, and I thought, man, we got to do something about that. We got to have you on the show, and we got to talk about it, and I hope that people will go to your website, SammySadler.com, pick up a copy of the book. It's called A Hit with a Bullet, and you can read this story. I'm telling you what, I think it reads almost like fiction until you really realize that this really did happen.
Yes, it did. And it's a shame that it happened. But why one dies and one lives, only God knows. Kevin wouldn't come back here now if you paid him $1 trillion. Man, he's in heaven with God, and he don't have to suffer no more pain. And I'm just thankful that God thought enough of me that night to save me, because that night, whenever all this happened, Scott, I wasn't saved, and I found out later that Kevin was a Christian. And for God to leave me here and think enough of me, I'm just so thankful that He thought enough of me and He saved me, and I am a Christian now. And I hope that that I've been through, that that I might be able to help somebody out there. I'm not asking somebody to go out and buy my book, but if you're in the music business, or you're an aspiring person that wants to be in music, no matter what genre it is, I think this book would help you if you read it and go through it. Might help you on your journey as you go along to check out the people that you're working with, and make sure they're good, honest people. And if it can help you and what I've lived through can help somebody, then maybe I've done my job, and maybe that's why God left me here.
Well, question asked and question answered. I think that's a very good answer right there, and I do believe you're absolutely right, and there is a reason, and it's a terrible thing that you went through, but you have you've helped a lot of people already, and you're continuing to put great music out there. And like you said, if you can help someone else with your story, there's God's plan right there.
Well, I hope that whatever God has led me here for. I mean, He only knows. But I don't know what somebody's going through out there. Mine was a gunshot. You may be suffering from alcoholism or drugs or violence or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I do know one thing. I know if you turn to God and call on Him, He'll bring you through the fire, and He's always there. He's just waiting on you to call on Him.
Amen to that. That's for sure. Well, we are going to play some great music from Sammy's album 1989. It's available at SammySadler.com, and also his book, A Hit with a Bullet. And Sammy, one more question for you, and I want to send a special hello and prayers to your dad. What's some of your dad's favorite music?
Man, my dad, he loved George Jones, Marty Robbins, Roy Orbison. I mean, country music and Elvis and all of that kind of stuff, man. That's the stuff that he loved. And I really think my dad wanted to be a singer early on, but he didn't get a chance to do that. And so I think he's lived his life through me some of what I've done. And him and my mom have always been my biggest supporters and my biggest fans. And, I'm just so thankful to still have him around at 85, Scott.
Amen to that. Well, by gosh, we're going to play some of your music, and I'm going to throw some George Jones and some Marty Robbins in there, too, just for your dad. How's that?
Well, I appreciate it, man. And again, man, thank you so much. And it's so good to talk to you. Tell all of your fans, keep calling in, requesting. Scott has a great radio show and a great program. Thank you guys for supporting him and supporting country music. It's always a pleasure, Scott.
Well, Sammy, the feeling is mutual. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show tonight. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
All right, there's Sammy Sadler. We're going to play some great music for you right now from Sammy's album 1989 and a few songs just for his dad as we continue with My Kind of Country. SammySadler.com is the website, folks. Take a listen to this great music as we continue.
I know you've been down a lonesome road. You've been kicked around and your heart's been broke. So if you're feeling hurt, I'll ease your pain. If you close your eyes, I'll show you the way. 'Cause I know a place where dreams come true, where my love waits for you. By my side and in my arms, darling, that's the place where you belong. It's just around the bend, no, it's not far to your journey's end and a brand new start. It's where you're gonna find someone who cares. If you close your eyes, I'll take you there. 'Cause I know a place where dreams come true, where my love waits for you. By my side and in my arms, darling, place where you belong. Don't you know, my little darling, that's a place where you belong. Just about a mile off of 109, there's a little church sitting back in the pines.
I promised that girl she was gonna be mine. I wouldn't be surprised if she was standing there crying.
Oh, I didn't know a board out for could go so slow.
Oh, you got to put your foot down on the floor.
Yeah, we be rocking all night, but don't you know,
You gotta get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Billy's fast and in the back, though we know he's alive. Oh, Bobby's got his head hanging over the side.
here we are doing only 95. What's the matter with you, man? I thought you said you could drive.
Oh, I didn't know more than four could go so slow.
Oh, you got to put your foot down on the floor.
Yeah, we've been rocking all night, but don't you know, you gotta get me to the church on the Cumberland Road. Yeah.
Sweeter than a dew on a honeysuckle vine, warmer than noon on the 4th of July.
Cutest little girl I'd ever have known, waiting at the church on the Cumberland Road.
Oh, I didn't know a board out for could go so slow.
Oh, you got to put your foot down on the floor.
Yeah, we be rocking all night, but don't you know, got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
We've been rocking all night, but don't you know,
Got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Lord, yeah.
Too little money, too many tears. What can I say? I guess it's just been one of those years. No need to worry. What good does it do? Darling, turn out the light and tell me that you love me too. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart. Everything is gonna be alright. We can make it through the darkest night. If we're in each other's arms, everything will be alright. Fires are burning on faraway shores. Seems like the world's forgot what it's been turning for. We've got our problems, well, tell me what's new. Darling, just take my hand, together we can see it through. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart. Everything is gonna be alright. We can make it through the darkest night. If we're in each other's arms, everything will be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. I can see the future shining bright. Just when things get tight, it's no time to lose heart.